What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Zach. Wow. Wow. Just as of 3 days ago, we were at 33,043 total views. Wow. And guess what we're at right now? We were at 33,043 total views, and right now you're at 33,100 views. Wow. Wow. From where we was 3 days ago to now, I'm in shock. And that's a good thing. I'm in good shock. Wow. Just in 3 days. And really, I feel like I haven't posted much, in the last 3 days at all. But again, and you've got the, subscribers, and you've got all the subscribers like I've got here with you here on YouTube. You know what? I wouldn't doubt it, because I've got some amazing people here on YouTube, and I cannot say thank you all enough for all you do and all you've done with all of the likes, all of the shares, the comments, and all of the subscribers. I am in shock still to see, just from where we were 3 days ago to now on the total views. I'm in shock. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of curious now to see where, the total views are going to go next. Because, like I said, just in 3 days, to see the views go up that much, I am in complete shock. So with that said, thank you all a ton for all you have done, with all of the shares, likes, and the comments, all of the subscribers, because of you, that's why I do what I do. And, there's so many people out there that, I have went through hell and back. And you know what? I've been there. I've been there. Just like you've been there. We've all been through it. Some of us, yes, go through it a lot more than others. And sometimes you might not understand what somebody goes through, because we might not have been through the exact same thing. I'll go through something different, is what I'm trying to say. With that said, always remember that it's more than okay to ask questions, because that's exactly how you learn. You know, um, like I said, we only know someone's name, not their story. And we all have a 100% different, but 100% true story about us. And, it's like when I explain to you, or, when I've talked about, like judgment or bullies and some of those things, I know how that feels. I've been there. Trust me. And like I said, I talk about, things that I went through, but I talk about things that I went through to raise awareness. Because there are so many people that go through hell. And, some people think they do it. Some people think that when people go through something like that, they think they just do it for the attention. But we all go through something. Now, what everybody goes through, you can't, it's hard to say. Because like I said, we only know someone's name and not their story. But we all have a 100% different, but 100% true story about us. With that said, always keep that in mind. Because, like I said, we only know someone's name and not their story. But we all have a 100% true story about us. And like I said, even if you don't understand something, it's okay. It's more than okay to ask questions. I've had some people ask me, if I'm in, just out of curiosity. And I've had some people say, I feel stupid for asking this, but what caused you to be in a wheelchair? And with that said, it's okay to ask somebody, why something, maybe why they're in a wheelchair or why they're on a walker or why they walk with crutches or a walking cane or why something, It's okay to ask questions. Because that's how you learn. But I tell you what, so many people and I've noticed it as well. So many people think it's more than okay just to be judgmental or just to pick on people. And to be honest with you, it's not okay. It's not okay at all to pick on others. Just because you might not understand something or, something might look different to you. I guess, in other words, be the best way to say it. Don't, that's not reason to pick on people. As someone that's myself, I'll say this, as someone that's sitting in a wheelchair, over the last I'd say the last 18 years, especially since I've been driving, I've had people look at me funny. I've had funny looks. And just not as in to be rude, but as in, they're not sure. that's like they've not saw that before. Someone that's in a wheelchair, or maybe they don't understand. But then again, I've also had those people that have, saw me, sitting in a wheelchair and ask me, hey, what, if you don't mind me asking, not to be rude, but what happened? What caused you to be in a wheelchair? What was the cause, if I may ask? And you know what? I'm more than okay with questions like that. If somebody asks me, says, what happened? What did, was you in a wreck, or was it something that you was born with, or, you know, you know, what happened? And thing of it is, they'll try to guess first. Just say, was you in a wreck, or was it something you was born with? They'll get it right. In other words, they'll say, "Did you get in a wreck, or was you born with something?" They're not sure, and like I said, it's okay to ask questions. It's more than okay to ask questions, because you know what? When you ask questions, that's how you learn. And like I said, when I've talked about a lot of things, like you hear me talking about bullies, or judgment of people, or depression, or anything. It's, well, one, I do all that because, again, one, I've been through it, and two, I do it also to raise awareness. I talk about those things to raise awareness. And think, because I know a lot of people who might look at, other people different, because they're sitting down, or, because of their disability. And, I've saw that happen to people, and that's not okay. Because, you know what? Just because someone has a disability doesn't mean they're any different than you. Just means that they have to go about, certain things a different way, I guess is the best way to say it. So think of it this way. When you see a person with a disability, just remember this. Okay? That person has this disability or that disability. They're in a wheelchair, they're on a walker, they're on crutches, or even a walking cane, for example. You'd think, wait a minute. Okay, this person is just like me, but they have to do things this way or that way. So even my point with this is this: just because a person has a disability, they're not different. They have to do things in a different way, yes, but they're no different than nobody else, or no different than nobody else. Just because you have a disability of some sort doesn't make you any different of a person. But in some cases, you have to go about things differently. And that's okay. That's more than okay, to be honest with you. And yeah, with disabilities, sometimes you're going to have bigger setbacks than a lot of people have. And again, that's okay. you know, you look at someone that's walking versus someone that's in a wheelchair or even on a walker or crutches, okay? That person that's on a walker or that person on a wheelchair can do the exact same thing as you can walking, except, for them, they might have to go about that same scenario as that you can, but they might have to go about that same thing differently. And again, that's more than okay. So what I'm saying too is this: when you see somebody that might have a different look to them, or a different disability, or whatever the case may be, remember, those people are just like you, 100%. They just have a different way of having to go about things. And again, also, as I always say, at the end of my YouTube videos, or even in the beginnings, yes, I am making this and still trying to work on this to make this a working, paying job, because I love to help people, motivate, inspire, and try to help you as much as I can through any situations that you go through or have been through. Like I said, some situations that you go through, I've also been through. And some situations, no, I haven't been through. Because again, you only know someone's name, not their story. But we all have a 100% different, but also 100% true story about us. So again, keep that in mind. Whenever you see somebody with a different disability, I guess is the best way. Maybe you see somebody that's on a walker, or you see somebody on crutches, or even a walking cane, or somebody that's in a wheelchair. Remember this: those people, we all are 100% human, but they're 100% different, but also 100% true story about us. Just because a person might look different doesn't mean they're different. It just means they have a different story about them versus what somebody else's story may be. Because, again, we are all 100% human, but with 100% different, but also 100% true story about us. So keep going. Keep being you. Keep a smile on your face. I appreciate y'all from day one, watching, sharing, all the comments, and again, all of the subscribers. Y'all are amazing. Keep being you. And let's get it.